Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining San Antonio Public Library's Adult Services Programs. One of the programs we are presenting today is about the Social Security benefits for people with disabilities. Everything you need to know. Um, we want to thank you so much for our customers being with us during this pandemic. It's little difficult to come to the libraries because we are actually closed for public to come in, even if we provide certain services. So during this presentation, um, you will be able to learn information about disability benefits and the disability application process, and also answers to the questions like what are the supplemental security income benefits and how do you qualify for that? Also, um, you know, what do you basically want to report when you receive SSI and Medicare versus Medicaid? So our presenter is from the Social Security Administration Office. Her name is Cheryl Schroeder. Welcome, Cheryl, to our program. And we want to thank you so much for your time, for coming to do this program with us today. So before I hand over to Cheryl, I want to introduce her just a little bit. So Cheryl Schroeder has worked for the social. Uh, Cheryl has worked for the Social Security Administration for the last 18 years. She began her federal career as a claims specialist, assisting the public with filing for retirement, disability, and survivor benefits. So since 2009, she has worked as a public affairs specialist for the Dallas region of Social Security. In this role, she has been responsible for the coordination of public information and promoting a better understanding of Social Security programs. Prior to her work with the Social Security Administration, she has spent 14 years working for the Texas Department of MHMR, providing services and support for adults with intellectual disabilities. Cheryl is based out of the Brenham Social Security Office, and she's a lifelong resident of Brenham area. Thank you, Cheryl, and so to you.
All right, thank you. I want to thank you for having me today, and I'm excited to be here and have the opportunity to share some information with all of you about Social Security, disability, and supplemental security income. Social Security has two disability programs. We have a program that we refer to as Social Security Disability, or SSDI. You often hear that acronym. And then we have a disability program that we call Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. And I'm going to go into quite a bit of detail here in the next few minutes regarding the Social Security Disability Program as well as the Supplemental Security Income. Starting off with Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI is a program that pays a monthly benefit to individuals who have worked and paid into Social Security. So one of the ways that it differs from SSI is that you have to have worked and paid into Social Security in order to receive Social Security disability. In addition to having worked long enough and recently enough in order to get Social Security disability, you also have to have a medical condition that prevents you from working for at least 12 months, or a medical condition that is expected to end in death. And when we talk about work, Social Security assigns a dollar amount every year. It changes just a little bit, but we assign a dollar amount to what we consider substantial work. And going into 2021, that amount is $1,310 gross monthly. So if a person is capable of working and making more than $1,310 gross monthly, they would not qualify for Social Security disability. So we look at work and we look at the medical condition. Okay, talking about SSI, the biggest difference in the way that I differentiate the two programs is that SSI is based on income and resources. You have to have, not only do you have to have a medical condition that would keep you from working and render you disabled, but you would also have to have limited income and resources. When we talk about disability for an adult, and that's going to be our primary focus today, we do have a program, SSI, that provides disability benefits for children. But for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to talk about adult disability. And SSI, Social Security, defines disability as a medical condition, as I mentioned, that would keep you from working for 12 months or more or result in death. When we consider whether a person is disabled, we look at age, education, what type of work you've done in the past, what you've been trained to do, and those types of things. Okay, next. In addition to benefits for the wage earner or for the disabled person, under the SSDI program, if a person is approved for disability, there are also benefits for family members. In particular, if a disabled individual is married, has a spouse that's at least 62 years of age, or of any age that's caring for a minor child of the disabled, they may be eligible for benefits on a worker's disability record. Also, minor children of the disabled individual could be eligible for a monetary benefit. And there's a second category of what we call adult disabled children. And those would be children over the age of 22 that have never married, never worked, but were disabled before the age of 18. That's what we refer to as an adult disabled child. So minor child, adult disabled child, and a spouse or divorced spouse that's at least 62 years of age or older could all potentially be eligible on the record of a disabled person. Next. Along with Social Security disability comes Medicare coverage. You have to have been found disabled by the Social Security Administration, and you have to have been receiving Social Security disability for 24 months before Medicare coverage will kick in automatically for the disabled individual. After the 24-month period, after 24 months of Social Security disability benefits, the disabled person is automatically enrolled in Part A and B of Medicare. It's automatic. The Medicare card is mailed out automatically. And Part A of Medicare would be the inpatient hospitalization coverage, and the other part of Medicare, Part B, would be the doctor coverage, the outpatient services, home health, and expenses of that nature covered by Part B. There is not a monthly premium for Part A of Medicare. However, for Part B, I believe in 2021, most individuals will be paying $148.50 monthly. It's important to keep in mind, in addition to Medicare coverage that comes along with being disabled, people with that are receiving dialysis treatments for end-stage renal disease can qualify for Medicare coverage, and also people with Lou Gehrig's disease can qualify for Medicare coverage almost immediately. Next. In order to get SSI, we talked about one of the major differences being that you have to have limited income and resources. In addition to limited income and resources, pretty much any individual a child can qualify for SSI, an adult can qualify for SSI, or an aged individual, 65 or older, can qualify for SSI. If a person is under the age of 65 and applying for SSI, they have to be found disabled and have limited income and resources. It should be noted, though, that once an individual is 65 years of age or older, the only requirement is that there be limited income and resources. There does not have to be a disability for a person age 65 or older to receive SSI. And just like SSDI, to qualify for SSI under the age of 65, there must be a medical condition that keeps you from working or for at least 12 months or is expected to end in death. And there are slightly different rules with SSI disability when it comes to children. You can't gauge a child's ability to work. So there are different rules that we look at and policy that we look at when deciding if a child is disabled as opposed to an adult. Many questions we receive about what income and resources we count under the SSI program. Talking briefly about income, we're going to look at whether or not, as we mentioned, whether or not you're working. Do you have wages? Are you self-employed? Do you have net earnings from that self-employment? Do you have any other type of income, such as unearned income? Do you receive Social Security benefits? Do you receive VA benefits? Do you have rental property that you may have monthly income from? Next. In addition to income, we also look at resources. And the primary resources would be whether or not you own your own home. We do not count if you own the home in which you live. We do not count that. We do not count your first car, or in other words, the car in which you have the most equity. We would exclude any type of burial plot or anything set aside for burial. Resources that we do count would be money in the bank, stocks, bonds, 401ks, pension plans, the cash value of life insurance, and any additional cars other than that first one with the most equity that we excluded. The resource limit for SSI for an individual is $2,000. For a married couple, it would be $3,000. So if an individual has more than $2,000 in the bank, then they would not be eligible for SSI during that given month in which their bank account was over that 2,000 or their resources were over that 2,000. I want to back up for just a second and talk about a little more about income. The guideline for income, I mentioned, and we talked about what types of income we look at, but the kind of the monthly threshold this year is $783. And that's also the maximum amount that someone would receive if they were approved for SSI, was $783 monthly. Next year, that's going up to $794. So if a person is approved for SSI and they do not have monthly income, earned or unearned, over $794, then based on all the other circumstances related to that individual, they could receive as much as $794 monthly. But that is also that income guideline. So if you've got VA benefits or Social Security benefits that are over that $794, then you would not be eligible for SSI due to income. So we look at income and resources. In addition to income and resources, one of the things we look at with SSI is the living arrangement. This is also a big reporting requirement for anybody that's getting SSI. We need to know about any changes in the household makeup and in the living arrangements. We have to know anytime an SSI recipient moves. We take into consideration how many people are living in the household. Is there a mom and a dad? Do they both work? How many minor children? So the makeup of the household will make a significant difference in SSI benefits and can make a difference. Also, where the person lives, if they live in a household where they're paying rent or they're paying a mortgage as opposed to an institution, such as a nursing facility or a MHMR facility, those things all make a difference in how much SSI a person receives. Another key difference between SSDI and SSI, as we mentioned, SSDI comes with Medicare after 24 months, where SSI comes automatically with Medicaid, and there is no waiting period for that. People who qualify for SSI get Medicaid. Medicaid is administered by the state Medicaid office. The state of Texas, the Medicaid office would administer that assistance. But if you qualify for SSI, you get Medicaid, child or adult. This is a nifty little chart that I like that compares the two programs, and it kind of helps you keep them and differentiate between them in your mind, and it will show you the key differences between those two programs, SSDI versus SSI. SSDI, I don't think we talked about this, but it comes from a different pot of money. It's a social security trust fund. It comes out of monies that people who work pay into Social Security, whereas SSI is not, it comes from the general treasury. It is not from the Social Security Trust Fund. Just in review, a person qualifies for SSDI when they work and they pay into Social Security on their wages, whereas SSI is a needs-based public assistance disability program. SSDI, we can pay benefits to not only the worker, but spouses and minor children. SSI, that's not the case. It's just the disabled person. And the big thing with SSI is limited income and resources. So how do you apply for disability benefits with Social Security? And when do you apply? Another big question. I would encourage anyone who suffers from a medical condition that is affecting their ability to work to apply for Social Security disability, SSI, as soon as possible. As soon as that medical condition is affecting your ability to work and has caused you to cut back on your work, please contact Social Security and either go online and apply at socialsecurity.gov by filling out the application online, or by calling our toll-free number, 1-800-772-1213. That is our national toll-free number. You can call that national number and schedule an appointment with any local Social Security field office. And they will give you a day and a time that a representative will call you and take that disability application over the phone. Once your application is taken, either online and completed online, or presented or completed by a claims specialist over the phone, the claims specialist makes sure that the income and resource requirements are met, that the work criteria, that if you are working, you're working under the 1310 gross monthly. Then they send your application to the Disability Determination Services office here in our area, that is in Austin. We forward the case electronically. We do not make the medical decision in the Social Security office. We contract with Disability Determination Services and their specialists, their doctors, to review the medical records that are provided and make that determination. The state agency, as I mentioned, will complete that initial determination for us. We do not require you to provide medical records. We will request those and we will get those electronically. However, I cannot emphasize enough how important this piece of the disability application is. And that is providing us during that telephone appointment or during that online application with accurate and thorough information about your medical sources, the doctors, the hospitals, the clinics, the emergency rooms that you've been seen in that have medical records pertaining to your disability. It is very important to be thorough in that area so that when we go to request the medical records from your sources, we get good information. Once the process of making this medical decision, and one of the reasons I said to apply as soon as possible, or as soon as you see that your medical condition is affecting your ability to work, it's important to get the ball rolling, because this process can take 3 to 5 months. Once you get a decision, if they decide that, yes, you are disabled according to Social Security criteria, you will get an award notice in the mail. It will tell you how much your benefits will be and when they'll start. If you're approved for Social Security disability, the amount that you get in Social Security disability is based on your work and your earnings. So it's based on what you've worked during your lifetime and what you've paid into Social Security. That determines how much you get in Social Security disability. In contrast to SSI, it's a flat amount, and it could be, as I mentioned, this year 783, next year 794, but it could be less than that depending on your living arrangement, whether you get assistance with rent and things of that nature. So that the SSI amount can vary. I will also point out that if your Social Security disability amount is less than the SSI monthly amount, if it's less than the 783, you could potentially get a combination of both benefits, SSI and SSDI. You don't get the total amount of both, but you would get a combination up to the 783 this year or up to the 794 next year. Some of the important things to report once you are receiving Social Security, disability, or SSI, we have to have reports of any type of work activity or medical improvement. We will also notify you that when and if your case will be reviewed. Once they decide that you're disabled based on your medical condition, they assign what they call a diary to your case. It could be a 1-year diary, a 3, a 5, a 7-year diary, depending on the severity of your condition. Also important to note is if your initial disability decision is denied, you have an appeal process. There are 3 levels of appeal, and you have 60 days. Every time you get a denial, you have 60 days in which to file the appeal. 60 days from the date you receive our notice. The appeal is very simple. It is not as involved as the initial application with all of the medical information. We simply have to have your request of appeal either in writing, or an appeal can be done online. You simply sign a piece of paper, an appeal form saying, I want to appeal the decision, and you provide us with any additional medical information that we would need, anything that's changed. And the important thing to remember is you've got 60 days to do that each time it's denied. And I would strongly encourage anyone that gets denied to follow the appeals process. And the reason for that is because appealing your decision each time protects your original file date, where in contrast, if you don't appeal the decision and you wait 6 months and you recontact Social Security, you're starting over again, and you're starting again from square one. This is the information we talked about: requesting an appeal that can be done online. SocialSecurity.gov, file an appeal, or call your local office, your local Social Security office, or the 800 number that I provided can mail you out the appropriate appeal forms. And just remember that 60-day requirement. And I would be remiss if I didn't conclude the presentation today with a little bit of information about Social Security's online services. Our website is pretty amazing. We get awards every year for how user-friendly it is. I would, anytime you need information, it's a good resource, a good place to go, socialsecurity.gov. In addition to that, I would strongly encourage you, if you have not, to sign up for what we call a My Social Security account. And you do that through our website at socialsecurity.gov. You create an account, you put in some of your personal information. It will ask you a few out of wallet security type questions, and then will have you set up a username and a password. Once you have your My Social Security account set up, if you are a recipient of Social Security benefits, you can access all of your information online through your My Social Security account. You can conduct literally all of your business through your My Social Security account. You can do such things as change your banking information. You can change your address. You can get a printout or a letter, what we call a benefit verification letter, that tells you or tells others, such as a mortgage company or housing assistance. A benefit verification letter will tell them how much you receive in monthly benefits. Through your My Social Security account, you can print that out instantly and provide that anytime you need it, without having to call a Social Security office on the phone and have it mailed to you, or not sitting in our office right now, but pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, you'll be able to request that in our office if needed. But this is a good way to get those services through your online account. New to your online account, you can request a replacement Medicare card. You can print out an SSA 1099, that statement of what you received for the year. And for those folks that are not receiving benefits, you might say, well, why do I need a My Social Security account? And some of the unique features of the My Social Security account that help those individuals would be the ability to request a replacement Social Security card. If you've got a valid Texas driver's license or a passport, you can request a replacement Social Security card online, as long as it's just a simple replacement card and doesn't involve like a name change. You can do that online. You can also, as a person that's not getting benefits, but you may be a potential beneficiary down the road, this is a good way to check your earnings record. And even if you just log on once a year to your My Social Security account and ensure that your employer is reporting your earnings each year, so that when you do retire or become disabled, you get the right amount of money. You want to make sure your earnings record is correct. It's much easier to fix if it's recent, as opposed to waiting till you're 65 and realizing that 15 years ago I had earnings, but they're not on my record. So another neat feature of the My Social Security account. Just in review, you would go, in order to set up the My Social Security account, you would go to socialsecurity.gov/myaccount, sign in or create an account, provide a little bit of your information, out of wallet questions, set up your username and password, and you should be good to go. Okay, that concludes the presentation that I have. And at this point, I don't know if we want to open it up for questions or not.
Hi, Cheryl. I have one question.
Okay.
So all these benefits are for U.S. citizens, but people with, they call it permanent residents cannot apply for these benefits. Only legal citizens. Am I correct?
I believe there's different criteria. There's some very specific criteria for who is eligible. I don't think it's limited to just U.S. citizens. Let me. I apologize. My background is more of the Social Security disability and the Medicare as opposed to the SSI. But for Social Security disability, if you've worked and you've paid into Social Security and you have a Social Security number, you would be eligible for Social Security disability. With SSI, it's a little bit different. I could send you the information. I do have a few slides that address the special SSI qualification requirements for non-citizens and also what we call the 7 types of qualified aliens.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.